Hello, everyone, and welcome to another elite episode of the Get Authentic with Marques show. I'm your host, Marques Ogden. On today's episode, we are joined by Mr. George Wright III. But before we get up George to the stage, I want to thank one of our amazing sponsors. Let's thank I Flip Invest, created by Mr. Randy Tate. iFlip Invest is a software and platform that allows you to do your investing all powered by AI for $7 a month. We thank Mr. Randy Tate for sponsoring this episode. Now, here he is. George, how you doing today, George?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to be with you. I appreciate the opportunity for us to wrap. How are
No
you?
problem. I'm doing well. Thank you very much, my friend. George, first question. What does the word authentic/authenticity mean to you?
Well, man, it's taken on a whole new meaning for me because I do global branding and personal brands for people, and it used to just be kind of like being real, but now it's authentic just means being true to who you truly are in the sense of your life overall, not just as a polished brand. And so everybody likes to be polished and look good and sound good, but I think authenticity is that unique talent that you resonate with, the thing that you love to do, you're passionate about, and you're excellent about. And so, I think authenticity centers around that for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I love that because George is 100% correct. You don't have to be perfect or polished or have everything together. When I go and speak to corporations, I'm always telling my authentic truth of I filed a bankruptcy. I went bankrupt. I filed being broke. And I had to basically, it took me almost 7 months to pay off my bankruptcy filing. I almost went homeless. I lost everything, all these things. And people say, Marques, you do? Like, yes, I do, because I don't want people to think that my life has been perfect and easy, because it hasn't. Because most people, I'm gonna say almost everybody, their life is hard. Their life is difficult. And so when you're able to be real with them, you connect with them on a deeper level, and that allows you to have a sense of a true connection to people, not just someone trying to quote unquote be Mr. and or Mrs. Perfect. So I love that. George, tell us a little more about yourself, your backstory, and then what you're doing currently now in the global branding space.
Yeah, look, I've been building global brands for like 30 years. I did marketing and events all over the world. I've had a million people attend our events, but branding for Tony Robbins, Kiyosaki, T. Harv Eker, a lot of authors and celebrities. At heart, I've been a marketer. So I had school of life. I got married right out of high school, had twins. I mean, now I got 8 kids, 6 grandkids, but I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love marketing. I love branding. I love technology. Um, and so, I built some pretty big companies, but then I became kind of more of a solopreneur, and I can get into details on that. But we've done events around the world. But at the end of the day, I'm a big advocate of personal development, business mastery, and financial education. So I've finally been able to kind of pull all those things together, I've pivoted into this space of authority marketing because I think with search and social and AI, it's really hard for people to get seen, like really seen. Like you talk about be authentic. It's hard to get attention, but it's hard to really be seen for what you do and how you do it. And so authority marketing is something we've really pivoted into. And authority marketing is really more, I guess a better way to say it is a blueprint for becoming the trusted expert in your space. And, I've had a podcast. I mean, I'm on 1,200 episodes. I've had a podcast for years. We own about 15 different magazines where we feature different individuals. And I've just found that in order to get seen and trusted and respected, you've got to build authority. And so that's the space that I'm in right now, is building authority for founders and authors and consultants, and we do that through podcasting and magazines and online content. So
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a huge believer. If people don't know you, like you, and or trust you, it is almost, if not impossible, to get business. And a lot of these things that George is talking about, I am 100% in agreement with, because that's what we do with our podcast, with our speaking, with going into magazines, getting into print. We have a podcast, we go on phenomenal podcasts, and it's all about the marketing aspect. But I want to get into some stuff first, George, because I love what you said. Like, I love the fact you are an expert and authority in this. So I believe branding is knowing your mission and or mantra, or what it is you stand for, or clearly understanding your why. And I tell people, great quote by, I think, believe it's Simon Sinek. Once you know your why, it helps you to identify your who. And so many people, when I talk about, well, tell me about where your business is at. Well, I market here, I'm trying to get sales here, I do ops here, and I try to collect money and say, okay, that's great. Well, do you know what about branding? Like, well, what do you mean? Like, well, I have to have a company. That's what it is. Well, no, no, no. Like, branding, what do you believe in? What do you stand for? Well, I don't know. And so, George, I saw a statistic. I think it's like 62% of businesses don't have a mission and or mantra, or don't clearly know what they stand for. Can you talk about how important it is, George, in business to get that trust from people? Your branding has to be one that represents you clearly and instantaneously in the minds of consumers. Otherwise, you risk just being looked right by.
Yeah, look, I mean, Marcus, you make a phenomenal point. It's the reason we start all of our, products, consumers, our global brands with strategy. We call it strategy. So we have kind of a four-step process for creating authority, which is strategy, then go create authority with podcasts and content, then use technology, then do distribution. But most people don't have a strategy, which means they don't know why. They don't know. They can't clearly communicate who they are, what they do, why they do it, and what's unique about them. And it starts with why, back to authenticity. Why are you even doing this? How do people relate to you, connect to you, and trust you? And so you've got to have the strategy. I have authors, experts, even big name celebrities that have been out there everywhere. People might know who they are, but they don't know why they do it. They don't know why they should work with them. And so that's back to this, because they haven't really gotten a blueprint and a strategy. And the strategy starts with, what are you all about? Why are you doing this? People want to work with people. They don't just want to have, and the problem is most business owners right now, they're so ready to get the next strategy, tactic, thing, that they don't stop first to determine why they're doing it. And then they can communicate that. But Brendan Burchard talks about it, it's clarity. If you don't have clarity around your message, then no one else is going to get clarity around your message. And so you have to start with that. So I think it's probably one of the most important things.
You know what, George? It is step number one when I work with clients that want to speak or build a business or be an entrepreneur. Because again, that's a great point. About 11 and a half years, we really didn't know what we stood for. We were a speaker, we were a coach, and all this, and I got all that. And we talked about mindset and leadership and bouncing back and all these things. But today, if you ask me what is our mission is to help people thrive through the eye of the storm, how to learn how to move like a bison. Because a bison is the only animal that charges directly into the eye of the storm.
Mhm.
And now, right, George, that's who we are. That's what we stand for. And people love it. And we bring it to every keynote in some capacity. We have an acronym for bison: boldness, integrity, self awareness, ownership, never quit. We did 4 talks in 7 days, and each talk, the bison was part of our keynote, and it will be for as long as we're in this business, because it's now the mission. It's what we stand for, helping people to charge directly through the eye of the storm. The bison doesn't like the pain, but they know the only way out of a storm is through a storm. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, in the last 6 months, give or take, we got real clear on our mission. And it was interesting right now, George, now we're building a CRM with a automation and human touch point sequence. Just met with one of our team members about how to use our podcast and the reach it has to get more people to come into our inner game scale limit, $97 per month for teachings and learnings all around that mission. So again, this is great stuff. Now, George, marketing, it's putting your product and or service in front of your target or potential consumer to have them want to buy your product and or service. And we talk about this a lot lately. Streamlining lead generation, clearly identifying your target customer profile. Who do you want to do business with? Who do you relate to or resonate with? And that needs to be part of your marketing strategy. Love to hear your thoughts on marketing and how people need to stop trying to be everything to everybody and learn who they relate to and then go after it.
Yeah, it's and they tie together, right? So we call it controlling the narrative. So, like you said, you've got to get clear because when you do finally break through the noise, you can't randomly be talking about different stuff all the time. And so you got to have that clear message and know what your message is. But then when you have that message clear, you've got to get it in front of your ideal client or prospect or potential customer. And sometimes when you have a really clear message, it doesn't matter where you are. If it's a consistent message, your ideal client will hear it. And so you can go on podcasts or magazines or do Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Google search, and put your message out there. But the more targeted you could get it, the more specific and because it always comes back to you're trying to solve a pain point, right? So when you know exactly who your client is, I'll give you an example. We work with a lot of founders. We know that founders could be a generic term for business entrepreneurs or owners or whatever. But founders are individuals that have experience, but they're looking sometimes to raise money and they're having trouble raising money, or they're starting a company so they don't have the credibility yet. So our authority marketing comes to this client and says, we'll help you raise more money. We'll help you get the credibility you need to bring in investors or to move your product. Or maybe it's an author. There's so many authors. You can write a book in a weekend right now on AI. But we know that authors want to get seen and credible, and they want to differentiate themselves from everyone else talking about the topic. So our message for that specific person is slightly different. And with marketing nowadays, you can have a specific message. So here's what we tell people: you want to be a celebrity, and they're always like, I don't want to be a celebrity. Well, no, you do. You want to be the most famous person for your product in your industry to your specific client. You want them to see and hear your name and think that's the person that can solve my problem. Everyone knows the commercial guy in their area that can do the real estate commercial real estate. So when you figure out exactly who your ideal client is, and then you identify their main pain point or the main solution you solve, it then helps you to clarify your message even more to them, and then you can just go out and talk to them, and you're gonna get your clients.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, it's about being able to stand out from the herd.
Yep.
If you are in business and you are blending in, I want you to stop what you're doing right now and write down what it is that allows you in your mind to stand out. Because in business, you should not be blending in, you should be standing out. There's a big difference. And we spoke from Mass Mutual in Atlanta in August of 2025. There was an awesome lady in the audience that works for Mass Mutual. She's like, Marques, I love my job. It's a little bit of a conservative industry. So sometimes I'll do a little bit of flash and pizzazz. Like I'll wear some pink shoes, I'll dye my hair pink, nothing too over the top, but it allows me to stand out in a very conservative, very crowded space. And I told her, phenomenal job, because I clearly will remember her from that talk because of her pink shoes, right, George, and her pink hair
Yeah.
and what she did. And it's the
And Marques,
little things.
yeah, and Marques, to your point, look, when people know their why and they're authentic, it's easier to play to their strength. And to stand out, you got to play to your strength. When you play to your strength, you will stand out. It's sometimes people sometimes think they have to be this like crazy, whatever. But when you do have your why and you play to your strengths and you're authentic, you'll find that, right?
Amen. So I'm going to bring something up. So this is actually great because I see her on your wall. So I had the pleasure of speaking on the same stage as Kathy Ireland at an event in 2018-19 for a client. Got a chance to meet her, speak with her. Phenomenal lady, great business mind, just sensational on every level. And she told me something that's now one of her more famous quotes that you can pull up yourself. But I love this quote from her. She said, Marques, you can either be an anchor that holds people down, or you could be an engine that propels people forward. Tell us, George, how do you all, with your, give us a bit more, not too much, but a little bit more tactical, behind the scenes, how do you help your clients become an engine that propels them forward, but also, right, George, propels their ability to go forward and do better in business?
Well, it's so funny you use the word engine because that's so true. And Kathy Ireland is one of our clients because we've been on multiple covers. She uses our magazines at her events and things. But I tell most of my people. So I'll give you an example. Our ideal client, what they want is they want to get visibility, they want to get credibility. So I play to that pain point. I say, look, give me 1 hour a week. I'll put you in front of 1 million people. Well, how do we do that? Well, what I do is podcast interview or magazine interview, and we talk about the stuff that they're authentic with, that they know and they understand. And one video podcast can get turned into a long form blog topic, a magazine article, a podcast that's syndicated, a long form YouTube. We cut it up into social media clips, Facebook ads, images for their deal. So we could take 1 hour of them just doing what they do best and put it omnipresent everywhere, very targeted to their audience to build their authority. So that's what we do. But what it does is it puts in practice all the stuff you just talked about. I've got a dentist that does sleep dental topics. Well, you'd think like, who is even going to be learning about that, right? But I can go to him, and once a week we do a conversation about sleep apnea or their health or the whatever. And I take that content and I put them in magazine, because remember, search right now is not Google search anymore. Keywords, topics, that's great. AI is looking for authority, multi platform content that is unique. And so when you are playing to your strength and you're authentic and you can get that in a good piece of content, 1 hour a week can turn into millions of views. So that's what we do, but it just applies all the principles that you're talking about to target your audience, be omnipresent, and be authentic.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is where branding and marketing are key, because the third part of the funnel, I call it the funnel, is I call it, you can call it problem solving, solution oriented mindsetting, or as most people call it, sales. But I tell clients, if you're trying to sell something and you don't know clearly what you stand for, or what is your why, or how you do it, or who you're trying to target, and you don't market correctly, you're just out there throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks. And that's what we were doing for 11, almost 12 years, until we got somebody to help us with marketing and strategy and took this to the next level. And we're finally getting our house organized. But I'm going to tell you, doing what we did, I hope you don't do it. I hope you learn from this great interview with George. Get centralized, get focused, get a strategy. Last question, George. What do you feel is the most common mistake that entrepreneurs make when they start a business that unfortunately causes most businesses to not survive? Because we both know, right, Jordan? I think it's like 60 to 70% of businesses fail within the first 5 years of being in business.
It's going to sound interesting because it's a real dichotomy. But I think people spend way too much time and money trying to get branding done. I'm a big branding guy, but what I mean by that is they're doing blogs and articles and they're doing podcasts or they're trying to get a website built or business cards, but they don't have a strategy. What they need to do is have a blueprint strategy and then do that stuff. And so that's why, like what you guys do, what we do, they don't take time to really create a strategy, which is the why, the who you are, what you do best, what's your message. If you just measure twice, cut once, you would be 10 times more productive. But they run out of money and they run out of time because they're doing all this stuff without a strategy. That's the number one problem they do.
Fantastic. I'm gonna really give my 2 cents here too. Lack of strategy, but also I feel they are so afraid to delegate to someone
Mm,
else. And
yes.
again, I hear this all the time. Well, I don't have money, Marcus. And trust me, I understand. But what do you have? You have a business, you have a service. You should look to barter or trade and find someone to help you. The human mind was designed to do a lot of things, but it wasn't designed to do everything. So if you're trying to do it all by yourself, at some point, you're going to run out of time in the day. At some point, you're going to get burned out. And then that's when you start making bad decisions. You start like missing things. And that's when things start to really not fruitfully get and grow to where you want them to grow. So, again, if you're listening to this awesome podcast episode, please be sure to do what George is saying, get a strategy. Please be sure that you delegate things you don't do well to other people. And also, I'm going to mention that we have our inner game community scale room where you can come in and learn things like branding or marketing or sales or ops or finance. We don't do the tactical stuff like George does on the branding or marketing side. We discuss more high level how you should be doing these things. And we'll say, hey, if you need this help, call George. Hey, you need this, go to George. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to make people aware of this. It's $97 per month. You can sign up and get a lot of teaching between me and my partner, Victor. I'm more the emotion side of the fence. Victor's more of the logic side of the fence. So again, it's critical to your success. George, great interview. How and or where can people find you for more information?
Anywhere you see George Wright III, you're going to see me. But if you go to authoritymedianetwork.com, that's our main website. We can in less than 3 minutes tell you exactly what your authority is and what your blueprint needs to be. We got a free scorecard on there. It take you 3 minutes to fill out. But Authority Media Network's a great place. And then, yeah, whatever I can do to help. Look, I'm just here to serve, and I really do love helping people to build businesses. So I just appreciate the opportunity to be here, man. It's been a great conversation. So thank you.
No doubt, George. Ladies and gentlemen, please go to George's email, I'm sorry, his website. Check him out. Go to social media, check him out. And again, we want to thank Randy Tate and iFlip Invest for sponsoring this episode. And the authentic tip of this great interview in life, please clearly know why you do what you do. And once you figure that out, get a strategy in your business of how to go from visualizing or visualization to execution. Execution is excellence in business. Again, I learned that the hard way. I had to fail to bounce back. So I hope you will take this advice and apply it in your own journey and in your own life. Again, my name is Marcus Ogden. I am the host of the Get Authentic with Marcus show. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fantastic day.